everybody, it's Lee. We've done it. We've reached the end of the year. This episode's coming out just one day before the new year of 2023. And if you're listening to it after the fact, welcome. It's good to have you here again. And what we're going to do in this episode is kind of review 2022, the best stuff. A lot happened for us on this show this year, largely because of you as an audience. We were in the top 10 hockey podcasts at one point. We continue to fluctuate near that. We're around that. Christy and I released a book this year, which we don't talk about in the show, but that was a highlight for us. And in this episode, we go through the top 5 episodes with no guest, top 5 with a guest, and some unbelievable stats about how far this show has reached around the world. Even when I was putting them together, I was shocked. And then when I shared them with Christy and Mike on the episode, they were shocked as well. Other than that, nowhere to lead you today. Just want to wish you all a wonderful and happy new year as you enter 2023. And again, if you're already in 2023, wishing you the best for this calendar year and beyond. So without further ado, here is the 2022 wrap-up of Our Kids Play Hockey. Hit it, Lee. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another edition, the final edition of the year 2022 of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm joined, as always, by Christy Casciano-Burns and Mike Benelli. Guys, I got some cool stats for you today. Today's whole episode is going to be somewhat of a review of 2022. You see this on Spotify and Apple. Everybody's doing these things now on their apps of what did we do. So I thought it would be cool to compile some stats. And in putting these together with our producer, Caitlin, who is the fourth member of our team, I'm shocked at some of the things I found, and I actually cannot wait to share them with you today. The first one being that this is actually, check this out, the 52nd episode of this year. So we have recorded a new episode every single week, the entire calendar year of 2022. We did not do that last year. I think we did about 50. So I'm just going to, that's a compliment. You want to talk about consistent. We preach consistency on this show, coaches, right, parents? So we practice what we preach. But guys, I can't wait to share these stats with you. So I'm going to dive right in. Okay. So here's some Our Kids Play Hockey stats for the year 2022. All right. First one, every episode, all 52 episodes I just referenced, have been listened to at least once in the last 30 days. All right, that means every episode we've recorded has been listened to by a new person or re-listened to at some point in the last 30 days. And get this, all but one have been listened to in the last 7 days. So that gives you an idea that people are not just discovering the show, and we thank all of you that have been doing that and diving in, but the episodes continue to get listens literally a year after they've been released, or weeks in some cases.
That is impressive.
I was shocked by that, but it goes to the audience of I'm going to say that we're providing some form of value, but I love that people are discovering these as they go along because, and I'll throw it to you guys real quick with this one. I just think it's so important that we're creating evergreen content that, okay, I want to listen to that episode because I think that applies to what I'm doing now.
Yes. I just got a Facebook message from an avid fan. He listens to every podcast. His daughter's name is Ainsley. Hi, Ainsley. I know they're listening right now. And he said, thank you so much for that episode about, tricks of the trade and how to, do things more efficiently. We did the crock pot idea that you guys shared.
Right.
And he said it was perfect. We all were in a room. We got to know each other better. Everybody shared a recipe, and he was just so thrilled with that. So even the episodes that are in depth and, thought provoking, just kind of the fun stuff we share, people appreciate too. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, and Christy, you bring up a good point. We will be referencing and unveiling the best episodes today on the show. That was from our hockey hacks. Well, no, I love that you did that because that's what's going to happen here. We're naturally going to reminisce about some of the episodes we've done. That crockpot one was a good one. So here, running through some more of these stats. So the easy one, Apple Podcasts and Spotify were our top 2 listening apps with over 50%. That doesn't surprise anybody. You ready for this one? We have listeners from 6 of the 7 continents on Earth. Just couldn't get the listeners in Antarctica, but we got every place else from Australia to Asia to Africa to South America, obviously North America and Europe and Asia. I mean, it blows my mind. So there's people listening all around the world. Top 3 countries, USA, no surprise, Canada, no surprise, United Kingdom. So to our friends across the pond, I would say we salute you, but you don't do that like we do. But thank you for listening. I'll spare the English accent right now. USA, Canada, and the UK leading the charts. And then cities, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Toronto. Now, this is weird. They hold the top 3 spots, but they only have 5% of our listeners combined, right? Our top cities are significantly spread out. There are 3,000 cities that we have registered, right? So that means there's even more. We have registered listeners from 3,000 cities around the world. That is insane to me. And I just feel a moment to nod to all of you listening, wherever you are. Apparently, we always talk about the Northeast United States, but you're listening all around the world. So wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you. Thank you for being the listener. That's incredible.
It is amazing. I just got a follower on Facebook from my Kids Play Hockey Facebook page from Japan. Wow. And I'm sure it's because of our podcast. Well, because how else would they discover me? Listen, so thank you, right. Tokyo.
Right. Yeah, I feel like we should go like on a world tour, right? We should just. One of my great dreams is to have Mike Benelli. Thank you, Toronto. Good night. Like something like that. Yeah. Mike, I don't know if that's your style though.
No.
Just no. All right, let's dive into some of the episodes here because I went back. Caitlin and I went back. So we're gonna divide this into a few categories. So it's gonna be the top non-guest episodes. And then we're going to do the top guest episodes because I didn't think it was fair just to do the top 5. So in terms of non-guest episodes, number 1, and I'm going to say this was the number 1 episode of the year. It's actually our number 1 episode of all time. And we recorded it in August, late August. So that tells you that this one really resonated because it's only been around for half of the year. And it was the 3 things to say to your kids before they step on the ice episode. I remember producing this with you guys, and we had that discussion of, this might be a good one for the audience because what do you say to your kid before they step on the ice? So that one really resonated.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably the first thing you type into Google too, right? When you have a bad experience.
Right? Yeah.
Like, oh, geez, like what do I say to my kid? Like the first thing, what should I say to my child?
Right.
So it's really, it's probably, and hopefully it's more than just hockey people listening to it. I mean, I think it's, it goes a long way to any excursion you're sending your kid off to.
Sure. It applies on all aspects of life. You're absolutely right, Mike. Yeah.
Well, and apparently the answer to that Google question, Mike, as I pat myself on the back, is Our Kids Play Hockey's episode 3 things to say to your kids before they step out on the ice.
Get in there.
As we go through these episodes, I actually find that these are the ones that I'm asked most about in public as well, or when I'm with my teams. In fact, just yesterday, my team had a loss, and one of the parents asked me, what do I say to my kid in the car after the game? And I said, nothing unless they bring it up. Right.
Well, I have a feeling the top episodes are going to be probably if I'm going to write them down here because they're probably
they might surprise you. Be careful.
They're probably my biggest stress points as well. So
okay. Well, listen. Number 1 non-guest was the 3 things to say to your kids before they step on the ice. I'd say go listen to this, but apparently all of you have. So we appreciate that. Number 2, navigating a toxic hockey environment.
Yeah,
that was a good one. We know a lot of you out there experience that. Here's what I'll say on that just real quick is that, there are environments out there that are like that, but by and large, most of the community is a positive community. And it's really with the toxic environment, guys. What I really learned from that episode was, if you're going through a hard year, go through it. Right. Not Walt Whitman, the Chamberlain quote of if you're going through hell, keep going. Right. You got to find ways to deal with that adversity, but it's never fun. Right. But that's number 2, navigating a toxic hockey environment.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So that's my number 2 as well.
Yeah, I put that as number 2.
They're going to come up there. They're going to come up there because I think it's just, again, these are you think about the pain points we all have as youth hockey parents or sporting parents, right? That, and I talk about this when I'm in my advisory role with youth hockey programs. I could probably take 10 pain points in every program I work with in any part of the world, and they're the same 10 points. There might be a little different orders, but they're the same things everywhere. And we all have the solutions. We have the answers. I think we just have to maybe listen and learn and navigate. But taking those experiences, which I hope this podcast does, and it clearly resonates in the way people are searching out the answers. right? Because they search the answer. They're looking for an answer, so they don't say, "Oh, let me just listen to all these Our Kids Play Hockey podcasts, and I'll get to something I like." Somebody must be typing in and saying, "Well, how do I find answers to this question?" And clearly, if our platform is giving that information out there and it's listened to, then hopefully it's making a positive impact.
Well, and Mike, to your point, that episode was spawned by a listener that emailed us and asked us to actually, if I remember correctly, the way it was worded was, "I don't know if you have enough to go into this, but we'd like you to do an episode of this." I said we could do a year amount of shows on that. So, but that's just proof of the community, right? That while we produce this show, it comes from you, the listener, right? That's why we're always asking you to write in. So I think that's a brilliant point to make there.
Right. And also we've experienced it. I'm sure you have, Mike. I know I have. So we kind of share our own personal advice as to how to get through it, because getting through it isn't easy. You got to admit that. It's tough. And you can feel all alone. So I think people turn to us because they're going through it and they wanted to hear, how did we make it through the season with so much toxicity and adversity? Yeah. And they were just looking for somebody else who gets it. And we totally get it. Yeah.
And the word community keeps coming to mind. And Mike, you alluded to this. One of the main reasons we made this show is because we want people to feel like you're not alone. You're not alone in this journey. And so many of us felt that way, I think, before. All right, moving down the list. Number 3 non-guest episode, Hacks to Hockey for Back to Hockey. That's one of the ones that you led and we referenced earlier, right? Like, and again, another kind of mid-August episode, right? That resonate. We get a lot of listeners right before the season. That's apparently, Mike, that's when everybody's Googling for these things. But Hacks to Hockey was a fun one.
Okay, wait, before we go any further, in case you missed that episode, Mike, you shared brilliance by renting a bus.
Right.
Oh a huge light bulb went on. I thought, why didn't we think of that all those years in youth hockey? Oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Has anybody done it?
I
know people have talked about it. My team is.
I saw a couple organizations. I think I sent you guys a list earlier, but I see on social media a couple of teams doing it. I know one team that did it this past weekend, going down to Pennsylvania for a 2-game weekend tournament, and the parents got on the bus, kids got on the bus, and everybody was it's a express up and back.
Well, just to remind everybody what Christy is alluding to and Mike is talking about. Mike went into the hockey lab and he got his really expensive Texas Instruments calculator from the late 90s that we all had out, and did the math. And it is actually more affordable to take a charter bus to a tournament for a few days than it is for everybody to drive individually on their own. This is Mike Benelli's research center. You can trust it. I do. Not just saying that. But
not only cheaper, it's not only cheaper, it's a better way to build team bond.
Yeah,
team bond, and you don't get a lot of this. Hey, shut up back there! I'm driving. Don't drive. You want to drive? You can't drive. You talking to you get a lot of that.
Or just the kids with the ear sets on, or in a trance watching their videos. They bond on the bus. They feel like hey, we're big shots. Look at us. We're on a bus, and they have fun. And plus, parents, look at the money you're saving too. Not having to stop for the fast food pit stop and the gassing up the car. And did you make a wrong turn? And everybody gets there at the same time. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Mike, Greyhound, reach out to me at any time.
Well, we should make our own bus company. Benelli's Bus Company. I mean, it works itself.
I will help.
The Benella bus. The Benella bus. That needs to be a thing. I'm your driver, Lee Elias, and for entertainment, we have Christy Cash and Burns, who will sing a wonderful rendition of God Bless America.
Well, I could definitely be Julie of your tour bus,
There you go.
the little boat. Yeah. I
All right.
take
And
care
then
of
and then put on. You don't need to see another version of Slapshot or another version of Miracle. You can
No.
just put on our podcast.
That's
and,
it. It's 6
listen to it on
hours
the way
straight
down.
of our kids play hockey, the video version. Yeah, that'll be a Kickstarter.
That was
in
my
23.
favorite. That was my favorite, all-time favorite hack.
Oh,
There you
cool.
go. It was good. It was good. And Mike, just to close this one up, I have seen an influx of videos of parents taking slow motion videos of their kids coming off the bus to whatever trendy song is out. So that might be proof there that it's working, because everybody's been doing that shot lately. All right, moving on. The next two, evaluations came in at 4, and retain your training, kind of similar episodes, came in at 4 or 5. Some more of our technical episodes, where we looked into what you should be looking for at a tryout, basically, with evaluations and why they're done the way they were done. I remember a lot of ideas out of that one, Mike. One was, every kid should be in the same helmet and the same jersey, and you shouldn't see names, because it would just be selected about talent and development. It's obviously not going to happen that way, but we got into a great discussion on that one. And then for retain your training, that was a great episode too. I think the reason that's in the top 5 is because, especially you, Mike, just made some great points about, you're spending all this money. Are your kids even remembering what they were taught? Are they being told something different the next day? So again, 2 more of our technical episodes, less focused on the emotion or hacks, but top 5 nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to parents virtually every weekend about that subject. Like, is it better to do a 1-day clinic or a long-term, development kind of model? And you could do both. You just got to find the right people, and then hopefully, like I'm a big proponent that if your rink is sponsoring a clinic, a power skating, a shooting, a stick handling clinic, you've got to make that clinic mandatory to coaches to be there. Because if the coaches aren't there seeing the techniques that this professional that just came in is teaching, like if it's the night off for the coaches, right, and they're going to the bar, or they're just going, they're not really associating themselves with this other, specialty program, then they can't build on those techniques. You're paying a lot of money for a professional expert in their field to come in and give you like this blueprint of what you need to do. The people that's going to impact the most has to be your coaches.
Right.
You could get them there. And I'll tell you right now, most of these associations or most of these groups that do these specialty clinics, they'll welcome those coaches on the ice helping and running stations and being involved. And, nobody's stealing anything from anybody. It's just enhancing, because if you do a great job with it, you're going to invite that person back anyway. And then they're going to build on that skill development session. So for sure, the player, it's great for the players, but it's not great if they only see it one and done. Right.
Yeah. And the coaches learn, like I said, it's not really stealing anything. You can learn from each other. The more we do that together, the better. So yeah, Mike, great points there, Alonzo. Make sure you check out those episodes if you haven't already. You got a couple honorable mentions in this category. I like to say this too. One of the cool benefits for me being on the show, now again, my kids are the youngest here of the group, is not only do I learn a lot, but I apply a lot of this. And one of my favorite ones, this came in the top 10, was the car ride is not for coaching. And I bring this one up because I have discussions about that one weekly, but it also was a really good reminder for me personally with my kids. And again, I want to say I struggled with it before that episode. I kind of knew, but that episode now, when I get in the car, I'm like, can't be a hypocrite. I did a whole episode about not coaching. Yeah. So we don't do it unless he brings it up. Or my daughter now who's playing. We don't talk about it. It is not for coaching. That was a great episode.
Yeah. Super tempting to do that too, because it's fresh in everybody's mind. So you're thinking, well, since the game is fresh in their mind, let's go over it while we're riding home in the car. We can dissect it. Don't do that.
What is the other two? We love to do it, right? Because it's like watching a pro game and saying, "Oh, I wish they had done this," right?
Exactly.
So for adults, it's fun. For the kids, it's like, "Mom, shut up."
Yeah, stop. I know what I did. Yeah. You don't have to remind me. Yes, I get it. Yeah, talk about stuff that they want to talk. If they want to bring it up, fine. But if they don't push it. Yeah.
Right. It's one of the best things you can do. And I think by and large, we find if your kid does not want to talk about the game, talking about it will have the complete opposite effect that you're
Yeah.
hoping to have. And
Yeah.
I always keep that in the back of my mind of like, yeah, I really do want to discuss this, but I think
Right.
I'm going to push him away. It doesn't work.
Bite the tongue. Bite your
Have to.
tongue.
Yeah, the other honorable mention is Mike. This one I remember this one because it was the dog days of summer, right?
Oh.
And we needed some topics, and you sent this chart over of, man, hockey is the most expensive travel sport. So we did an episode. Why is hockey the most expensive sport? And that one resonated as well. I want to say this too. We have a guy that comments to much to the chagrin of, or to the detriment of Caitlin, our producer, comments on a lot of episodes. Why don't you do one about why hockey isn't expensive? And we just link him to this episode every single time. I don't know why that's happening, but yeah, why is hockey the most expensive sport was a really good episode.
Yeah, because it is, and but it doesn't have to be, right? And I think the episode clearly, reviewed a lot of the strategies we can all do as administrators and hockey directors and parents, and it doesn't have to be expensive. You do not have to buy. And again, I'm a big proponent of the best brands out there, the best sticks, the best equipment. I mean, there's a need, to some people to have that, but you do not have to have it, and you don't have to, and everything doesn't have to be brand new. Right. And I think the great thing about youth hockey players is they grow, and they grow so fast that they outgrow brand new equipment very, very quickly. And it's not like, listen, nobody wants my shoulder pads from high school. I could guarantee you that. They're not.
They're a collector's item, Mike.
At this point, they are, but they're mine. Like it's ingrained in me. But for your 6-year-old and 7-year-old, they grow out of their shoulder pads before the Velcro even gets bad, right? So just it doesn't have to be. It's only expensive if you choose it to be expensive. If you choose to be a travel baseball player, it can only be expensive if you choose for it to be expensive. It doesn't have to be.
Right. And I will just say the caveat on that, Mike, and you agreed on this when we did the episode. Do not go cheap on your helmet, and do not go cheap on your skates if you can do it. Right. Meaning get yourself a good pair of skates, get yourself a good helmet, and make sure your chest protector covers the heart. Aside from that, especially in the youth hockey, you don't need a $6,000 stick to play well. The player makes the
stick. But make sure everything fits right too. Don't buy big thinking, oh, they'll grow into this.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Always check to make sure.
Yeah, go back to that episode too, because I'm guaranteeing we talked about that, right? Go with things that fit, that are used rather than new, and grow into. Like just like there's no rush. Just get them. Yeah. It doesn't have doesn't have to be falling apart, but there's plenty of reused recycling of equipment.
Look, I'll give a quick example. We got my son a new pair of pants, and they're too big. We wore them a couple of games, and I just made the decision I'm going to get you some smaller ones, and we'll grow through because it did not fit correctly, and there were parts of his body that were exposed. And with him playing goalie more now, I'm like, no, we're not going to do this. So
and
great
on
points.
The subject of pants, always check because they do grow. The kids grow through the season, so what might fit them now, in the middle of the season, you're going to find that they grew 2 inches and the pants are above the knee, which happened to me with my son. And the coach had to point out, hey, did you notice that Joey's pants are way too short? And I'm like, no. Like, they were fine at the beginning of the season. Right. So check during the season because they do have growth spurts. So and you want to make sure they're protected.
Parents who haven't played, I'll just say this, Mike, you'll agree with this one too. If you've never been hit with a puck at full speed right above the knee where there might not be any padding, it's a fun injury that you feel for weeks. So, and at our age, you feel it for years. So before we switch,
our kids would end up naming their bruises. Everybody, each bruise would have a name. Oh, that's Bruce, the bruise.
Yeah, mine's made in Slovakia. That's what I would name that one.
Yeah,
that's on the puck. Before we switch over to the guest episodes, I'll tell you this is a funny one, Mike, based on what you just said too. So one of the big updates for this season is my son became a goalie. I'm saying it now. He is a goalie. He loves goalie. He kind of flipped from player to goalie. For those of you not watching, Mike just gave a little shake of the head, but he wears these kind of knee pads under his goalie pads, right? So he pulls them up, like, there's just some more protection. Another sign that he's a goalie. He comes home from school the other day and he's wearing them. I said, did you wear those to school? He goes, yeah. I'm like, you look like a Ninja Turtle, which is awesome, but also don't wear those to school. So yeah, he's into it, man. He's telling everybody he's a goalie. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. So that's one of my developments. Okay, let's flip over here. Top guest episodes of the year. So these are obviously episodes where we had someone on with us. We had a lot of notable people this year. First things first, I want to thank every guest that we had on the show this year because everyone provided incredible value. And most of these episodes were in the top 10, right? So number one, and this one's going to surprise people because, again, we've had some notable people on, former NHL players, NHL coaches, players' moms. Number one is what junior scouts look for and why you should try ball hockey with Bill Sullivan. Which makes sense. And I guarantee it's because of the title of that episode, what junior scouts look for. Bill, great guy, USA ball hockey coach, gold medalist, but also a junior scout. And we had a great discussion with him. It was real candid. He didn't hold back about kind of the business of hockey at that level. I really loved that one. That's number one. That was our number one guest episode.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that just shows, just again, that's that search look, right? And then say, okay, where are do I have the most stress in my life as a hockey parent? And I start typing in, who has the answers, right? And okay, there's a good one I could listen to and maybe get a couple of nuggets of information from. So I'm sure if you were able to search across that title across the whole internet, there's probably a lot of content in relation to that question. So it's great that people are listening to ours.
Yeah, we're going to need to do our own sabermetrics on what people are searching for and start just naming all of our episodes. But with that said, make sure you all keep emailing us ideas. We want to hear from you. That most of these episode ideas come from you.
Yeah.
So after Bill, this was a two-parter. Part one of our interview with Daryl Belfry was very high up on the charts. If you combine them together, it would easily be number one. For those of you who don't remember or know, Daryl is one of the greatest skill coaches, development coaches on the planet. NHL teams have tapped him. He has worked with some of the best players in the game, from Patrick Kane in his prime. I know Crosby did some work with him. He is who the players turn to. And I look, this was a big one for me because I'm a huge fan of him. I have been for over a decade, watching his videos online just as a coach myself. So that was a highlight to have him on. And we really got into a good discussion with him, not just about talent development, but people development, and really the ethics of coaching, which I wasn't expecting him to go into, but he really dove into that stuff with us. So that was a great two-parter, if you haven't seen it. Any thoughts on that one, guys, before I move on?
Yeah, and I know he really hit home the importance of work ethic among the players that he has dealt with and succeeded. He shared so many great examples of why this player was a superstar, and it was more than just the talent, but they were just great human beings too. So I love that episode.
Yeah, and that's a common theme we hear from everyone who has, quote unquote, made it or is working at that level, that while the talent is obvious, no one's denying that, the type of person they are is paramount to them making it. You got to develop the whole person. And I say this all the time when I work with parents and kids, we got to make you a good person, not just a good player. They go hand in hand. Right. If you really want to, quote unquote, make it. Next one, local guy, developing young athletes with Coach Gary Dworkowitz was in the top 5 there. That was a great episode. Gary, again, who has his own podcast that he runs, is really dedicated to the youth. So that was a good one. Next one was the life lessons of hockey with Steve Dubinsky of Super Series AAA. So Steve played in the NHL for the Chicago Blackhawks, and today really is kind of the executive director of what is the largest United States-based elite tournament group in the country. I think that was redundant the way I said that, but it doesn't matter. He runs that. He knows what he's doing. Another great friend of the show. Really like that one. Steve is a guy who will just kind of say it how it is. And I've always respected the opinions of people like that there's no sugarcoating. And again, this is a guy that sees really the top talent going into the collegiate junior type ranks. So for him to come on and say that, the last thing I want to say about him too is that he has a fierce dedication to what we referenced a minute ago, which is to make sure these kids have the mental fitness and the mental fortitude to continue. He has no interest in pushing a player that doesn't want to be there or is mentally not ready to go further than they're already at. I think we need more people like that right now. And again, all of our guests, I'm not just limiting this to him, feel that way, right? That mental fitness is important. We have to stop ignoring it. It's not something that's just a side thing. It's an all the time thing, right? You got to practice that as much as you practice your game. So that was my big takeaway from that episode. If you guys want to comment on that, sorry.
But no, I mean, clearly it's anytime. I don't know. It's those are the things that I want to hear about. Like the top guests we have are the guests that we would. That's what's great about the podcast, because the top guests we have are the kind of guests I would call anyway. And I'm like, I want answers from you. Like I'd like to talk to you and pick your brain, or, hey, are you speaking at something so I could hear what you're saying? Or, hey, do you have time for a 6-hour conversation about, my stress level in hockey right now? So I think that, we're the ability to get those guests on with us, and we're asking the same questions that I hope most of this audience would ask.
Right.
So I think that's where, the power of, having a platform like this is so great, because, we can bring in and provide a lot of information for a lot of people that don't have the resources or the time to go seek these people out. So this is a great way for us to say, well, we all have the same questions. Let's just centralize this so that, we can disperse it in a way where I can digest it as I need to. So that's great that those episodes are being listened to. And there's clearly there's clearly a want for that information out there.
Well, and then the fifth one, Mike, on that note, this is one I thought would I don't want to say would be a little higher. This was kind of a highlight one for me, so I think I'm gushing a little bit, but it's aptly titled Danny Briere, Hockey Dad. And this was one of my favorite episodes. I'm sure most of you listening know who Danny Briere is. If not, one of the greatest NHL players in my mind. Has Gretzky level numbers in the postseason. All right. I'm not exaggerating that. He has Gretzky level numbers in the postseason. And to be able to talk to him about just being a hockey dad, which I know from our conversations after, he doesn't get asked about enough. Right. I think that's one of the reasons he wanted to come on, was that we didn't just talk about his career. And then diving into his psyche about how he was able to perform. Right. But that was a real eye-opening episode to me. Again, we're recording this towards the end of 2022. This is a person who's absolutely going to be a GM at some point very soon, probably 2023, of an NHL team. So that was a fantastic episode. I loved every minute of that one.
Right. And a good reminder that what they're going through as hockey parents.
Right.
You think, oh, they're above all that. They've got it all figured out, since they have been playing at the most elite level of hockey. They know, they have all the answers. Well, they don't. They're kind of navigating this journey just like us, and also surprised by some of what they're dealing with. I'm talking about hockey parents that are a little overzealous. They see it too.
Right.
And they have to confront the same issues we do, which I love hearing about that.
Well, and Christy, if I remember correctly, I think that was the episode where he said, keeping in mind, again, this guy's playoff performance, he said that watching was sometimes worse than playing, like in terms of anxiety.
He did say that. Right. He did say that. Yeah.
That tells you something.
Yes. Yes. You felt this. He's in our seats and feeling the same thing, even though he's played at the highest level of hockey.
Right. And that should tell you, as Christy said, that should tell you something, right? If you're feeling that anxiety, is totally normal. So those are the top 5 guests. Just want to throw some honorable mentions out there real quick. Dale Weiss was on the show, another former NHL player. Mike Shelley was the starter of our new sub-series, Our Kids Play Goalie. He launched that. Great goalie coach in Virginia. Juliana McEwen, who is the mother of Zach McEwen in the NHL, was on the show. That was a fun episode to interview an actual mom whose kid made it all the way. And Coach Pete Whitney, who is a massive friend of our show, is somewhat of a regular now. He did some great ones. And also Tom Chorsky, his episodes are rising up the ranks pretty quickly. You got to keep in mind that, the second half of the year, those episodes haven't had as much time to marinate as some of the other episodes. Maybe next year we should do this like a season to season type the 2021-22 season of Our Kids Play Hockey. But I wanted to shout them out. And obviously every guest, anybody who took the time out of their schedule to be on this show this year, we really appreciate it. And the audience did too.
Right. And let's not forget our young entrepreneur, Martin.
Yeah, Martin Negron, right? So funny story about him, right? So he made Duster Armor, which my kid has. It's fantastic. Again,
Right.
not being
Which,
paid
in
for it.
case
Yeah,
parents aren't familiar with it, it's cut resistant.
right.
Hockey players can put it on. So the neck, if you won't get slashed in the neck with his
The neck, the wrists,
shirt,
and the
and
Achilles.
yeah,
They're all covered. And my son
right.
loves his.
Cut
My daughter
resistant.
loves theirs. Funny story about Martin. So we did that episode, and I don't talk about this public a lot, but I ended up coaching Puerto Rican national teams this year. And I get down to Florida, and guess who's there? He's on one of the Puerto Rican national teams
What? Oh
for the
gosh.
the U16 team, which is really a
Oh,
U15
that's
team.
great.
So I get to meet him, his dad, and actually pick
Oh,
up my armor, and so that all worked
wow.
out. That was a fantastic experience that I'll dive into more in 2023. But yeah, to get to meet him in person again, young kid entrepreneur. I think he was only 15 years old when he recorded that episode. And whenever you're listening to this in the future, make sure to check that out. It's Duster Armor with a Z instead of an S. Check that out. There's one of the other cool parts of this show is we do like to dive into every few episodes that there's so many ways to be involved in this game outside from actually playing the game. That you can make a life in this game if you want, or at least a hobby aside from playing that you can really enjoy and make part of your day. And Martin and his family does that. All three of us do that. But yeah, I think that's important for the parents and the kids. We have a lot of kids listening to this show. I had a mom come up to me on my team, and her son was listening to some podcast, and she said, "What are you listening to?" She goes, "I'm listening to Coach Lee's podcast." I was blown. So Nico, if you're listening, thank you for that. That made my night. But that's it. That's for the stats for this episode. That's 2022 wrapped up here on Our Kids Play Hockey Friends. And I'll tell you, 52 episodes, 52 weeks. Brilliant. And we're not planning on stopping this anytime soon. We've got scheduled episodes moving into 23. The other thing I'll say is to the audience, we cannot thank you enough for taking this journey with us and allowing us to take it with you. And I'll remind you too that we get plenty of emails. Continue to email us. Don't think that we won't see it. One of us will absolutely respond to it. It is the three of us who get those emails. And we love hearing topic ideas. We love hearing what episodes you loved. We love that you have questions about episodes or how can you get in contact. I just got an email the other day of, hey, how do I find this resource that was referenced? So that's why we do it. That's absolutely why we do it. And I'm gonna throw it to you too. What are you looking forward to in 2023? Christy, I'll start with you.
Oh, I love hearing from parents because I feel like I'm not in the youth circles anymore. I'm with the college hockey group, so that's kind of a different dynamic, and we have our own set of issues. So I love that youth hockey parents are turning to me for advice and reaching out to all of us. I feel as if we have a lot to share with them based on what we've been through. And when I hear from them, they're flashbacks. Oh my gosh. Yes, I've been through that. Yes, I remember that. Yes, I could help you. So that really gets me just pumped up to keep going, is hearing from, especially the parents are just starting the journey as hockey parents. So I hope that will continue into 2023.
I'm sure will. Mike, let me sauce it to you, buddy. Aside from sleep and Monday morning rehab for us, what else are you looking forward to in 23?
I love it. I just love the fact that, we can keep going out there and finding new people to talk to and talk about the game of hockey. And just like you mentioned earlier, all aspects of the game, whether it's in broadcasting or, manufacturing or, being a manager, being a coach, being an administrator. I think that's all great resources that we get to, reach out and do our own research and have, somebody like Caitlin be able to put all this together and make it look like it's, somewhat, coordinated and I know, and I don't answer a lot of emails, so that's all Lee and Christie's, but if,
we forward them to you and you do get back to those people.
We seek your input to be
but again, it's really been a fun journey doing this, and I do love running into more and more now people in rinks saying, "Oh, you're the guy that does that that podcast. So we listened to that on the way up to Buffalo.
Yeah,
We
Christy's great.
Christy's great.
Christy's great.
Oh, you're on with that woman, Christy, right? From USA Hockey. Yeah. I'm in the background every now and then. But I think it's a really fun way for me to stay connected in the hockey world. And I think it's great that other people are now reaching out to us, to help spread what they want to about hockey as well. So it's great.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I also, I got to give a shout out to Snyder Hockey, an incredible organization that's growing the game. And just a reminder of it goes beyond just the trophies and the titles, but hockey is such a great game to teach our kids growth and teamwork and how to handle adversity. There's so many incredible life lessons that go beyond getting on the ice and playing a game. And I love that more and more people are discovering that and using hockey as a vehicle to help with growth of individuals and even, mental health. There's so many wonderful aspects to this game. And it's fantastic that people are discovering that. And we can also be a vehicle. We're like this hockey tripod, we're like the stable force here. And we want to keep going and spreading the positivity of the game.
Well, Christy, that's a great note to end on. I'm not going to even try and trump that. So what I'll say to all you listening is this. If you love what Christy just said and what we stand for here, share this podcast with the parents, share it in your team snap, share it with your teams. Let's grow this community as much as we can. And if you want to listen to any of the hundreds and hundreds of episodes that we have done, you can do that at any podcasting network, or they're all listed on OurKidsPlayHockey.com, including this one. So from the three of us, Christy Casciano Burns, Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias. Want to wish you a very, very happy new year as we step into 2023. Enjoy the time with your family, folks. And we'll see you next week for episode 1 of 2023. Have a great day, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, OurKidsPlayHockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at WhenHockeyStops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.